What is good, everyone? Welcome to the channel. My name is Paul. I make videos about Japanese society, life, and culture from the viewpoint of a long-term foreign resident. And if you're familiar with the channel, you know that I also make sneaker videos because that's another hobby of mine. So I've done a few sneaker unboxings on the channel. Today, I'm doing an unboxing, but not of sneakers. This is a hobby of mine that goes way back as well, and that is Ukiyoe, or Japanese Woodblock Prints. And I have a collection. I've done a couple videos about my collection in the past, and I will link those below. But today I'm going to be unboxing some prints that I ordered from some dealers. I'm going to talk about what the prints are, get into the condition, authenticity, and all of that. So let's get into it and go for a ride into the Edo and Meiji era of Japan through Japanese woodblock prints. I'm going to start off with this package. Okay. All right, the first one I see right through the white paper here. This is the first ever sumo wrestler print I've ever gotten my hands on. And that tends to be because sumo wrestler prints are very expensive, so I've never really gotten a price that I like. Now, immediately, as I look at this print, I can tell two things. One is it has a backing. So at some point, because of the frail paper, the backing was placed on here to help preserve the print. And there is plenty of wormage. And what's interesting, so that's all the basically insect eating of the paper that happened. What's interesting is that happened after the backing was put on, because the backing is eaten away as well. So it's not like it was eaten by insects and then backed. It was actually eaten afterwards. So it was kept carefully by putting a backing on it, but then not stored really well. And of course, wormage and having a backing actually lower the value of the print. But I mean, as I look carefully at the details, the block lines seem pretty strong. The paper, aside from the moth-eaten parts, is actually in pretty good condition. It's very clear, like you could display this piece, and if you had a nice sort of neutral color back inside of a frame, the wormage damage wouldn't be too apparent. But this is pretty nice. It's by the artist Yoshitora. Not particularly famous, which is maybe another reason why the print wasn't so much, but if I told you that I got this at current exchange rate for about $14, would you believe me? That's about what I paid for this, $14. Just a note, I'm not wearing any white gloves or anything like that. I don't normally when I handle prints, but I do always wash and thoroughly dry my hands just to try to minimize the oils that I have on my skin, to minimize any kind of contamination of the print itself. I mean, handling prints a little bit now and again isn't going to hurt them. A comment on my last print video was about displaying prints. So in the future, I've decided to do a how to store and how to display prints in the best way possible, how to handle prints in the best way possible, so that you keep them looking as nice as possible and minimize whatever damage you can in the present and going into the future for long-term keeping necessity. And the next print, it's actually 2 pages. It's a diptych, and again, another pretty rare print for me to actually get my hands on, because it's actually a yurei, or ghost print. And ghost prints, as you can imagine, are pretty popular because people like the scary and the spiritual, and it's a different type of print that is just something that tickles human fancy, and so ghost prints are usually pretty expensive. And this is actually by the artist Kunisada. This does not have a backing on either print, so the print paper is very, very frail. Like, I have to be very careful as I'm handling this. As I hold it to the light, I can see the lines through the paper that indicate that when the paper was made, handmade, it was laid on chain racks to dry, and that's where those line patterns come in the paper. That's one way to determine authenticity. A little bit of wormage. It appears that on the side this was probably attached to something at some point. You can see along the back here it was probably attached to something for display purposes. And the title of this piece is the Stations of the Tokaido, 53 Stations of the Tokaido Ghost series, and this is the Okazaki print. And Okazaki, from what I could gather, is supposed to be a cat ghost or a cat witch, and there are no cats in this print itself, but I mean, I could almost call it an owl print, because as you look at the woman, I think it's pretty clear that her head is completely 180 degrees on backwards, and that is creepy enough. Obviously, she's flowing out on this cloud of spiritual, ghostly energy from inside of this man's pocket, or I would say inside of his kimono, rather. He's got a really cool long kiseru, which is a traditional Japanese tobacco pipe, and that's a pretty cool detail. Sometimes prints, just by virtue of having these popular antique objects depicted in them, can also raise the price. I paid about 5,000 yen for this, so at current exchange rate, that's like $40. So again, a ghost print in actually very nice condition, far better condition than the Sumo print. No backing, limited wormage. The colors are faded as you would expect of an Edo era print. This wouldn't be museum worthy colors. And the key block lines, as you look at their faces and ears and things, this is a slightly later printing on the wood blocks. You see, as the wood blocks are used again and again, the really fine carved lines that produce the print itself get worn off over time. And so you can look at things like the ears and noses and hairline, etc. And if you see little gaps in the black ink, then you know it wasn't a particularly early printing. Now the Sumo print over here, everything is really stark and strong, so the real damage to it is the other factors I talked about earlier, but the actual printing itself is very nice. This is a very cool print, very collectible, very displayable, good one to bring out and put on your wall or on display at Halloween. And finally, the last print. The theme of this particular buy from this dealer is getting my hands on 3 types of prints that I've always wanted and never was able to get a particularly great price. I don't know if prices of ukiyo-e are a little bit depressed right now because of the economy, or inflation has people with less disposable income, etc. I don't know. But this final print is one that I would say would typically cost over 15,000 yen normally in the past. And I got it for just under 15,000 yen. I guess $125, $130, $120, something. I mean, the exchange rate's all over the place, so you can look it up if you want, but it was about 14,700 yen for this piece. And that makes me wonder how the condition actually is, if other people didn't see it as I saw it. 3 women with umbrellas in the snow, and umbrellas, snow scenes, bijinga or beauty prints are always a very, very popular. This is also Kunisara, so we're talking Edo period. I don't know the exact years, but it's before 1860 for sure. And the title of this piece is just, which is on the leftmost print, is just the place in Tokyo that it doesn't actually exist anymore. It's called Yanagishima, so it's Tokyo Yanagishima. And when I looked it up on Google, it says that it's a place name that existed from present day Sumida Ward to Koto Ward in Tokyo. So it's an area of Tokyo that, you know, when Tokyo became the modern city that it is, the area name changed. And again, this type of print, you have the women, they're up on their high clogs, which would be used to try to get away from the muddy streets of old Edo. You have other people with umbrellas in the background. The background details of the snow are lovely. These prints also, thankfully, do not have a backing, and they do have pinholes at the top, so it looks like someone at some point pinned these prints to something for display purposes. A little bit of wearing down of the paper at the corners, but it's clearly a period correct handmade paper. The prints themselves are, you know, slightly wrinkled, a little bit of fading, etc. I mean, I've seen this print online in kind of museum quality colors. I'll post that here so you can get a sense of contrast between my print and what would be museum quality. But this is a lovely 3 pair of prints. Again, very collectible, and I'm sure that I could sell them abroad for a much better price than what I paid because of just the thematic material, the quality of the print, and the overall conditioning being pretty good. Okay, the final print is by Eisen. It's a Bijinga or beauty print. The title is Yoshiwara, and the name of the woman, which I'm sorry I can't read. I can maybe do some research and find out what that is later. But this I don't like. I don't like that he taped the board because it makes it more secure in the shipping, but by necessity you kind of have to pull on the print a bit to get the tape out of there. Yeah, my recommendation when sending prints is don't over tape them. This is, oh my god, this is going to be, I wouldn't recommend sending prints like this. Especially since, you know, it can get caught on edges of tape as you bring it out of the plastic because it's hard to remove all of the tape from it. Anyway, this is a print by Eisen. It has a backing. The edges are somewhat ragged. However, it doesn't have all of the wormage that we saw on the Sumo print. But Eisen Bijin prints are very, very sought after. This is earlier 19th century. So this one is potentially older than the Kunisada print. Also, this one has a fair amount of stains, like perhaps molding, foxing as they call it on the print. Luckily, it doesn't happen in really important parts like on her face or on the ornaments in her hair. Just a little bit on the sleeves of the kimono. Colors are quite faded. This was probably, you know, displayed in a place where it got sunlight or light in general. The inks that they used in the Edo period before Japan opened up to the West in Meiji were these vegetable dyes that just didn't last as long. That's why if you see Meiji era prints, a lot of them keep their strong, bold colors much more easily than the older ones do because they've started using imported inks from Europe. I'm very pleased with this print. Again, a very excellent price. I got this for about $20. So let me know what you think. Which print was your favorite? What got you into ukiyo-e prints? Please join in a conversation below. Let's talk about prints. It's someplace where I totally geek out on. It's my hobby, so if there's a conversation going down below, I will certainly join in. Thank you very much for watching this unboxing video that wasn't sneakers, and I hope to catch you on my next video about Japan, about ukiyo-e, about sneakers, whatever it is you're into. Please come back, like, subscribe, share videos with people who you think might be interested in this content, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.